The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Anyways, earlier on this, actually last year, Steven Stamkos, captain of the Tampa Bay Lightning, first overall in 2008, been there ever since. 2 Stanley Cups, signed an 8-year, $8.5 million contract, which is a bargain for the AAV, which would all works out the mathematician stuff and the salary cap, the way it works in the National Hockey League. But getting a guy of that kind of a stature at 8 years, 8.5 is like I said, it's an absolute bargain because the Florida teams have that no tax thing down there, no state tax, so it helps out. They can sign guys for a bit of a lesser deal, but this year, after 8 years and two, like I said, 2 Stanley Cups later, Steven Stamkos, team captain, longtime team captain, faced the franchise for a long time. Contract's up this year, and they're thinking, he's only 34 years old, I think it is. Dave, like all of a sudden, he's got 62 points this year. So he's still a serviceable player. He's a really good player in the National Hockey League still. It's a funny situation there with Stamkos, and it happens across the league in many sports, but does Stamkos, does he take a hometown discount to stick around? Does he leave for different pastures to play a little bit more? Does the Tampa Bay Lightning say, you know what, maybe we're done here? Or do they there's a lot of variables involved in this one because of that state tax that he doesn't have to pay, because it's a pretty good deal for Stamkos, who's been the sweetheart of that organization for a long time.
There's so many different facets to this thing, because before Stamkos signed this deal that is expiring right now, 8 years ago, Tampa Bay basically told him 8 years ago, like, They let him go to free agency. They signed him to this deal as a free agent. He was able to, he shopped himself around, him and his agent, and then he decided that he was going to return to Tampa. And 8.5 is not chump change, but Tavares the very next year signed 11.5 to go play for Toronto, right? And Stamkos could have got that money, but he chose to stay with Tampa. Now it's happening again. Now he's 34, still a productive player, drafted by the thing. Like, this is his entire career. I think he was
first overall 2008. Yeah.
Yeah. So it raises my eyebrows when I think, why isn't this deal done? Why aren't they saying, okay, we'll pay you for this year? But is Stamkos then, he's wearing the C because, he deserves it. But is it those other players like Hedman and Kucherov and O'Reilly? Like, are those the drivers? Is Stamkos a passenger?
62 points, still a very good hockey player in that league, and that Tampa Bay is not no slouch. I mean, I don't think they're a Stanley Cup contender anymore. Like, they're a contender, but they're not a front runner.
Right, they're not a front runner anymore.
But 34 years old, he's still a guy that's helped that team out. Like, he's not he's not as good as a player as Patrick Kane was in his heyday with the Chicago Blackhawks. Like, they're the same kind of player, but Kane's a better player, more production wise. But Stamkos is a better guy to have on your team. Face the franchise kind of guy, been around for a long time. Like, both with Stamkos has the 1 3/4 Stanley Cups compared to Kane's 3. But Kane saw his demise, not demise, I guess is the wrong word to say, but Kane saw his, it's thanks by Sia with Chicago. And so maybe it's one of those things with Tampa. They're like, well, you know what? If you want to play here, we can actually offer you $4 million for 3 years because you're not paying taxes on that. Right. So, like, that would be like a $6.5 million deal. I don't know if that's the correct math on it, but you know what I'm getting at.
I do. I do.
It's a pretty good gig for Stamkos to stick around there.
But then why isn't it done? And that's kind of one of the things. Like, why Stamkos was there before they were good. He was a first overall pick.
So they were bad.
Yep. and he also put up massive numbers in his first 8 years in the league too. He was really, really good. He's obviously not as good as he used to be. And then now that they're winning, and now that he's not the best player on well, when he was in his prime, Tampa said, "Well, like if you can find something better, thank you." And he chose to come back to Tampa for what they were offering. And now that he's 34, and then he's might be like honestly the fourth, fifth best player on the team, fourth, fifth most important player on the team. And Tampa's saying the same thing. You can't figure it out to someone that means I get it, it's a business, and I get it that teams have to make hard decisions sometimes, but you can't find some middle ground to say I want to be with this franchise for life, like because these kind of conversations never happen with Sidney Crosby. They never happen with Ovechkin. They never happen with I don't know. I'll pick another guy. I can't. Drew Doughty, right? We're locking you up. You're part of the heart and soul of the team. Does the Tampa management think that Steve Stamkos isn't a heart and soul guy on that team?
Maybe they get it. They're like, we have to move on because you know what? You're Steven Stamkos. Yeah, you were great. And you're still very good for our franchise. But if we just keep towing the old company line, we're not like eventually you're going to deplete, and we got to fill a spot. Like we got to fill your spot with somebody, and because very rarely does a guy come out of the minors or out of junior and be a first year guy who scores 100 points. Like Bedard's like guys coming out of junior now, they're an epiphany that are great. Like you get McDavid, like generational guys. You don't get that as much anymore because the game's just different now. So you have to think, okay, I have 12 forward spots on my team. 9 of them play. Through the bottom 3 very rarely play. So I have to find a way to make sure that we're still being a quality hockey team. And not that Stamkos isn't a quality player, but he's one of the bottom 6 now at this much money or so it's like, okay, if we're not winning, because I think GMs, we've talked this before. I think GMs know in their heart of hearts where their window is, and they go, you know what, we aren't winning with this group we have anymore, so maybe we need to move on and get a little bit younger. And if this guy still wants to play, that's fine. But he's going to play for $1 million. We're not paying him 4.5 because we want to get free agents and the rest of it. So maybe it's just one of those situations where they go, you know what, they see the bigger picture that we don't see.
It must, or like, are they? Is it just? Are they just that cold blooded, or is Stamkos? They don't see him as valuable as we from the outside think he may be, because, like I said, like it's basically the same situation as Sid Crosby, right? And they're not letting no one's even thinking about. We talked about it like would Sid Crosby go someplace else, and I didn't think so, and you thought maybe, and but he has
Eight
one
point
more
seven
year deal.
percent.
Yeah, and but this is now the second time that Tampa is telling Stamkos, like if you can find something better, go find it. Like where's I get it, it's a business, and I get it that
No, I
the
agree with
players.
you. There has to be some kind of loyalty towards your long term guys because, or your guys that made you successful. Whether that you won a cup in your first year with a free agent signing or whatever it might be. Like there has to be some kind of loyalty to your players because you still want players to sign with your team. Because yeah, you can draft and develop, but usually draft and develop only gets you so far. You need free agents to win Stanley Cups or World Series or Super Bowls, whatever it might be. So a team has to show they have to show some sort of loyalty towards their players, or else guys aren't going to go there.
Right, like, well,
Like I
because
I
otherwise,
committed to you. I committed to you. I'm moving my family here. Yes, you're paying me handsomely. Yes, I'm making more money than I could ever thought I'd make. But I moved my family here. My kids are in different schools here. On and on and on it goes. So I committed to you, and I'm one of the top 2% of hockey players, or 0.02% of hockey players on the planet. And you better have some sort of loyalty towards me too.
Well, yeah, because it's been like, now 13, 14 years. I don't know when he broke into the league.
16 years.
Yeah, 16 years. That's how long he's been in the league.
2008 he was drafted. Yeah.
That's ridiculous. And it just, like, I'm going to keep going back to it. Just makes me scratch my head that the Tampa Bay Lightning have now for the second time said, if you want to walk, walk. Steve Stamkos said that that's his entire professional life. Like when you say I moved my family, he didn't move his family there.
been there
Like
forever.
that's just where my family is. And now is San Jose? San Jose. Is Tampa Bay so cold blooded that like fuck, we're gonna make him buckle like a belt, and we're gonna like does Stamkos get a statue? He's probably a Hall of Famer.
He's a Hall of Famer. 1,000
Okay.
games, 1,000. Yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. 2 cups on, and he's a Hall of Famer.
But is that something now then? Like, so now do we got to give Vasilevsky a statue? Do we have to give Kucherov a statue?
Well, I talked about Patrick Kane earlier on with Chicago. He's getting a statue.
If you
Right?
give him a statue, you got to give Taves a statue too? No.
I think they'll have a co-statue. They're both holding the cup or whatever it might be. Like Kane's getting a statue. There's no getting around that.
You think?
Oh, he's probably the best American player to ever play the game.
Yeah,
And
but like best American player, right?
And 3 cups and
There's oh no, I think they had a Bobby Hall statue, but they took it down once his sorted past kind of came to light too, right?
A couple years back that came about. I can't remember exactly what it was, but
yeah, I don't know if the Golden Jet had a statue, but
something happened. I can't remember what it was. It doesn't much matter. I don't want to because he
and we're not.
So you don't want to dig up old graves or anything else. But yeah, it's the statue thing is always kind of funny because you never know what might happen later on. Like, oh Jesus, oh, this isn't good. Legends sometimes have sort of passed. We'll get some guys who got down in the past and like, oh, maybe he's not an idol. Like it's one of those things. But the thing with like you look at Stamkos, and then we talked about before how Brian Cashman with Jeter. I hate to go back to the Yankees every time, but it's the same kind of deal. Jeter went up to the Yankees and said, like, I'm Jeter, and Cashman went, I don't care. Like we're not paying you what your market value, what you think your value is. We're paying what your market value is. This is what it is. Because at that point, he said, I'd rather have, because Jeter asked him, he says, can you, this was in 2012, I think it was, or 11, doesn't much matter. He said, who would you rather have playing shortstop? And Cashman said, well, Troy Tulowitzki's one. And so Jeter went, stop. So he took a $14 million deal instead of a $23 million deal. So that's kind of the same thing that's happening with Tampa and Stamkos. It's a comparable, like Jeter's obviously a much bigger icon because of the team, but it's the same situation there. Like, okay, like yeah, you were that good, but we still have to get better somehow, and we only have this many dollars to spend. So take it or fucking leave it.
So now Steve Stamkos is 34 years old. What do you offer him if you're the Tampa Bay Lightning, and what do you take if you're Steve Stamkos? I was thinking maybe like a 4-year deal at 6.5.
If I'm Tampa, he's 34, 35 years old. I say, you know what? If you want to end your career here, I'll give you a 3-year deal at 4.5.
That's really low.
I'll give you a 3-year deal at 4.5 and an option with the opportunity to finish your career with the team you started for with no sales tax.
That's fucking dirty because it's not about money.
But it's not the team's fault.
Yeah, do you play that much hardball?
If it's not about money, then take it.
Well, No, it depends. I don't know what goes on behind those closed doors because is Tampa Bay that? Fuck that. You can. Dallas doesn't have sales tax. Vegas doesn't have sales tax. I would say fuck you. Sign a 3-year, $8 million deal with Dallas
No
or
one's taking it.
Vegas.
No one's taking him for that kind of money.
3 for 8. Well, you said what? 3 for 4.5.
Yeah.
He can get 7. He can get 7 pretty much anywhere for sure.
For 60 points?
I think so.
Fuck.
Just on name recognition, he's going to put asses in the seats.
The name recognition only works. He played in Tampa, man. That's the thing. That's the thing that actually I'm glad I thought about this. That's the thing that hurts. That hurts guys like Stamkos. He played in anonymity for his entire career. His entire career, other than in the playoffs. Nobody outside of Tampa. Nobody fucking watches Tampa Bay Lightning games.
And if it wasn't for the Olympics, right? How much would we follow him, right?
Exactly.
Right. Because we're Canadians. Yeah.
He is not a Canadian sports icon by any means.
Not even close.
Because he plays it. And he's a comparable player, not as good. He's a comparable player to Kane. We know more about Patrick Kane because he played in Chicago, which is its original 6 team. On and on it goes. Nobody gives a fuck about Steven Stamkos, especially now that he's 34, 35 years old, whatever he is. Nobody cares. He played in Tampa. He's not really a marketable guy anymore. Like if he was to go to fucking Calgary, they were like, all right, he's a really good player with 2 cups, but who is he?
And I guess that's the double-edged sword because we talk about it all the time. Where would you rather play? And then how I think it would be so great to just live in a Hawaiian shirt and flip flops. No one knows who you are. But then
when it's over, it's over.
But then now, who knows you? Nobody, right?
A pat in the back is 3 feet from kicking the ass.
And especially
right?
and
that's it.
In the last 12 years, we haven't had international competition, and that's where you get your face on in front of all the Canadian audience.
He got hurt before the last Olympics, I think it was. He got hurt during or just before.
I think it was the Olympics beforehand. I think he was on that
2014 in Sochi. I think it was. And that's 10 years ago now.
You bet.
So really, who's Steven Stamkos to a hockey fan? Not to the hockey fan, but like the hockey fans.
And then when Tampa was winning their 1.5 cups, it was Kucherov and Vasilevsky that was the superstars. It wasn't
because Stamkos played in Game 4 or Game 5, whatever it was, and he scored a goal because he was injured and he got taken out of the game. Because really, Stamkos, for as great as he's been throughout his career, who is he? Like how many kids around Western Canada have a Steven Stamkos poster in their fucking in their bedroom? 2.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's from the Toronto area, so maybe he might have some there. But those are all fucking gone because there's a lot more Toronto kids that have come up after Steve Stamkos that are in the league and dominating right now. And he's a long ways away playing for a franchise that won a half a cup in COVID when no one could go. Like
in the summer, nobody was watching.
Yeah, does he put asses on the seats on the road? I don't think so. I would imagine Connor Bedard is a bigger road draw than he is right now.
Because Chicago's a bigger draw no matter what.
Yeah.
Because Chicago's the original 16. There's Chicago fans everywhere. Mm-hmm. People Stamkos. That's why they're like, okay, well, here it is. Go somewhere else. Find something better. Because you know what you're not going to.
I think that might be it. And when I brought this,
I think we just broke this down.
Yeah. It's everybody's like, business is business, and like this is just, you don't get a more clear-cut case than business is business than this. First overall pick, was there for the lean years, helped develop the team, and he was there for and producing for the team, but didn't win the cup until they had other superstars, Hedman, Vasilevsky, and Kucherov, right? and those three, when all is said and done, might be more impactful players than him as far as the franchise success goes.
Like like his jersey go to the Raptors. There's no getting around that. Like, and he's a great player. I think he's a Hall of Famer. But where's his marketability? Because like later on in careers, that's what a lot of these contracts are, right? Like Swan Song riding off the sunset. Like you get paid for what you did with a lot of contracts, but maybe Tampa's like we need to pay people for what they're going to do because we got
Right.
people to come here because of the tax and everything else, and it's a great place to play and all, on and on it goes. So if you're not going to help us actually win, then what are we doing?
Especially, I guess,
I mean, like you say, it's 100% cutthroat. It is. It's cutthroat to no end. But you have to move on. You have to.
you have to, right? Because Father Time is undefeated. It would be interesting to see what kind of offers he gets from other teams, because you got to think he's not going to. The only way he goes to another team is if he has a chance to win. And I would imagine he wants to stay on the East Coast, so it'd be a team like, I can't see Toronto doing it because,
No.
well, unless Tavares is off the books, maybe a
He's got
team like
one more year,
me.
I think.
Yeah, a cheap deal with maybe the Rangers, maybe
A Rangers deal,
uh,
and if Boston doesn't find a way to do something
Boston.
finally,
Yeah,
maybe if Boston got to jump into that pool a little bit because Boston, they've been licking the jar forever. They got that one cup in 2011, and they've been right there, and then they just fail and fail and fail and fail.
uh-huh.
Like that might be
Just
the big, like that might be in the last 20 years, 15 years, that might be the biggest failure of a franchise. Really, like
I'm hardly going to call them a failure,
not
but
a
like just,
failure, but
but they haven't met.
underachieving.
Yeah, they have not met expectations by a long shot. So since they won that cup with Tim Thomas, they made one cup final and lost to, was it the Avs? Who'd they lose to in the West? Like they've
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I'm not 100%, but and then spitting the bit last year against Florida was
Florida.
absolutely unforgivable.
After
Like, you
winning
set a
68 games,
record,
whatever it was.
the single best regular season in NHL history, and you fucking give up a 3-1 series lead to lose to Florida.
They
That's
lost.
that's embarrassing.
Actually, what they lose to Florida, they lost to Matthew Tkachuk. Really,
and Bobrovsky
Bobrovsky. Yeah.
and Bobo.
It's you just wonder where these guys, because eventually, and we talked about it, like I still think that Crosby won't end his career with the Pittsburgh Penguins. I want to get back onto that one because it's the same kind of deal. But I think it's going to be Crosby saying, "Yeah, I would love to finish my career here. I started it here, and because he's been around for a long time. But eventually, you go, I don't have many years left either." Right? So a team can say that like we've succeeded, but eventually it's over. It's over for both sides of the spectrum. It's just over. It isn't going any further. Maybe it's just time to move to try something different because Pittsburgh would be better if they traded Crosby. Not better next year, but better 3 years from now. Tampa might be the same way. If they just let him go, because they'll have money on the books, so they can get a free agent here. Tampa not as much because there won't be a free agency thing or a trade thing because it's just over. Right, his contract's up. Like sometimes franchises just need to move on because you know what? Players' careers end. Like you said, Father Time fucking always wins,
And
and
when you say
eventually
this,
just
well, so,
over.
yep, but this Sid Crosby thing, I just can't get my head around it, because any team that's going to take him, there's going to be draft picks and prospects, and a wise man once told me prospects are cool, but rings are cooler. And if you get draft picks too, it's going to go to a team that thinks they have a chance. They're going to have a low draft pick. I don't I don't really know how you can really turn around your franchise by getting rid of the most valuable piece of your franchise. Aside from Mario Lemieux, and I get that, and Pittsburgh's
Yeah,
lucky to have two icons, but
3. Throw Lemieux in, or throw Jagger in there.
yeah, and throw Jagger in there as well. It's tough. I can see what's his nuts Evgeny Malkin going to another team far before Pittsburgh because the rate of return, I don't care what it is, unless it's like I just can't think of something that you can do that's gonna get you the proper rate of return. Uh, you know, Gretzky got traded, so never
Yeah,
say never, and I understand that.
twice.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know what Edmonton got a decent haul
Jimmy
for
Carson and
Gretzky.
Bernie Nichols. And no, not Nichols.
Not Nichols. It was yeah, it was Carson and someone else, and also like
88. Jesus Christ.
and a big chunk of change for Peter Pocklington, who was in
Save
trouble, right? Like
Gainers
that
Meats or
was
whatever it
funny.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, yep.
Like
There's
the problem that Tampa has is that now fucking Edmonton sucks. Can't lose to Buffalo this time of year. Anyways, like the problem that Buffalo, or not Buffalo, that Tampa has now is they have an asset with Stamkos, and they held on to him, whereas they could have traded him for stuff. But are they a better team or a worse team if they keep him? That's the thing, and that's the thing. Like you're saying with Crosby, are you a better team or a worse? Obviously a worse team, but 2 years from now or 3 years from now when Crosby's retired, are they a better team or a worse team?
yeah, and and Tampa, like you
Because
said,
I think
they're
you gotta. What's the intellectual honesty? Is your line.
yeah,
You gotta have a fucking. You gotta have a firm grasp of what you're doing with your franchise.
for sure. And Tampa has shown that they do have a firm grasp on what's going on. They have a steady hand on at the wheel because even that year, they lost to Columbus in the first round, the 1 versus 8. They they didn't make wholesale changes. They didn't freak
They knew
out,
that was an
and
epiphany and
yeah,
whatever it
and
happens.
then that was just a shit happens. And they steered the course, and they got their 1.5 championships. But now, when you say this, like he is an asset, and but you have to keep him because if you trade Steve Stamkos, you're not going to be a better team. Like what you're getting in return is not going to be as good as him, and that's just the way it works at trade deadline, right? You're going to get prospects and picks, and then maybe someone that can fit in your lineup someplace, but you're not going to get. I don't know how much of a
No,
difference
yeah,
maker
no,
Steven Stamkos is.
I think you're actually right for the first time in about 32 episodes that you know what you have is still better than what you might get because what you might get you don't know. You have
Right.
no idea. So what? Like, just stay the course and run with it because what you have no idea what you might get, and that's across all sports. You look at football where they're fucking throwing fucking draft picks around here and there and blah. What baseball's the same way and it's all the same way. If you what you have is what you have. Like this is what we got. We know we got this. And I like prospects are cool, but championships are cooler. And you have a way better chance of winning with the team that you have and with the superstar, and especially with the superstar that you have, than with a guy that you have no idea what might be coming up. You have no
Right.
idea.
Right. And and then whatever you make this trade for, in all actuality, like you won't even realize if you win or lose this trade in like 4 to 6 years down the road. So
And if it took you 4 to 6, you probably lost the trade.
yeah, well, because that's what draft picks are, right? You draft them, and if you're trading into a team that wants to make a run into the playoffs, it's going to be a low first round pick. You don't get, but You don't get kids named Connor in the bottom half. Well, actually, you get a shit ton of kids named Connor in the bottom half.
There's Connors everywhere. Yeah, I was going through. I got a little duty today at the world headquarters there for apparel for all these different teams that we take care of for kids. There's a lot of Connors. There's a lot of Connors and weird Aidens and Jadens and Wadens and Zadens and holy fuck me. Get original for fuck's sakes.
Yeah, but
Like
nonetheless,
Jasper. Anyways.
well, that's not where I was going with this point. Like, you're. I was thinking of like Connor McDavid and Connor Bedard. You're not going to get elite talent. You're not going to get generational, franchise shifting players after pick number 3. It's just not going to happen. Well, pick number 10, right? So let's say, like, let's just look at the teams right now. You got McDavid number 1. You got Draisaitl. I think he was 3 overall.
He was a 3 or 5, yeah.
Yeah, that Cale Makar was 5 or 6, and these are the players that make difference. Like, so even what's his name, Eichel, who went 2nd overall to Buffalo after Connor McDavid. How's he doing? He has his ring. McDavid doesn't, but it doesn't look like he's a driver. He might be a passenger.
He didn't do it in Buffalo.
He did fuck all in Buffalo. Yeah. So
it's it is odd. Like I don't know. It's tough. It's really tough to say, okay, we're done with you. Thanks for your services. And then it's tough for the player to say, I can still contribute.
And then what is the fan base in Tampa Bay? Are they going to be up in arms and bringing pitchforks to the GMs if Stamkos doesn't come back? I have no idea. I don't know what that fan base is like. It looks
for a week and a half.
The only time I ever see a Tampa Bay game on the TV is when it's in the playoffs.
And like for a week and a half, because fans are, in general, fans are smart when it comes to the end of the season. Like they go, okay, I get it, because he's 50 and he can't play anymore. Not fit, you know what I mean, though.
Right, like writing's on the wall.
Eventually, it's just over, and we gotta build to next year, because all of a sudden, like I'll go back to Jeter again. It's 10 years since Jeter played, and he wasn't great his last 3 years, right? So,
average at best, yeah.
So eventually, and fans know that these guys who were icons of your franchise, they're just done. It's just over. Like fans know that you have to move on, and thanks for memories, tip the cap, and ciao, thanks, bye, see ya.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think fans are actually more realistic than ownership and fucking and players are. Because fans will go, "What? Get rid of that fucking guy. He's too fucking old."
Yeah, they trade this guy, this young stud, but now we're gonna keep paying this old fart for 4 more years, like that kind of thing. You're right. Fans are more knowledgeable than they ever have been, and I will agree with that. But to bring it back to Kevin Lowe, like what kind of fans are these? So with the Twitter warriors that are gonna piss and moan about everything, or are these the fans that are shelling out and putting asses in the seats? Because once again, I don't know what a regular season Tampa Bay game looks like.
It's packed.
It is. Okay, so they got a good fan
ticket
base.
Prices actually, because ticket prices are pretty cheap. Like they do it right. They do the Tim Hortons theory. If you have cheaper tickets, more people will go. Then you'll sell more beer, and you'll sell more T-shirts, and you'll sell more of this, you'll sell more of that,
and make more fans, and you'll keep coming back because they had a good time. Yes.
Yeah. It's really quite simple.
It is, and especially if you have a good product, and then when the
times are and they have.
Yeah, they've had a good product for 10 years. Like they're the San Jose Sharks, but with 1.5 cups. Yeah.
But it's not a team that anybody cares about.
Right.
Outside of that market.
Yeah. You don't see a lot of. Who's a more popular team north of the border? Carolina or Tampa Bay? Or the Panthers?
I would say Panthers would be 3. Carolina 2 and Tampa 1 just because of the recent Stanley Cups.
Yeah.
But it's close because Carolina's got some really good players in the past, and that they have some history. And Rod
And Rod the
Brind'Amour,
Bod. Yeah.
Rod he doesn't hurt the branding of that team. Like
Mhm.
he's kind of an icon himself. So like in Philly people there's a lot of Canadian fans like Philly, right? So yeah, no, I think whatever Tampa Bay offers Stamkos, his best interest would be to take it.
Unless he feels insulted.
Mm. He's got a boat full of money, one would think.
Yeah, but there comes a time where you just like, come on now. Both of us know this is insulting.
But he has the 1.5 cups, right?
And that helps, right?
If he had no cups and had the numbers he had, maybe go somewhere else. Now, if I was Tampa, I would finish it off. I have my 1.5 cups. I'm going to finish it off here for $4.5 million, 3 more years. I can pad my Hall of Fame stats, and then that's it. That's what I would do.
Probably. And and I don't know what his family life is like with wife and kids or any kind of thing like that. It's only 8 months, right? Like it's live on the East Coast.
What would you do?
It depends. Like, I just want to know what the dynamic is with him in the room. Like, do people not listen to him anymore? Like, I get it, he wears his C, but like, I don't. The simple fact that Tampa has said twice to him now, if you can find something better, find it. Is that disrespectful, or is that the utmost respect for a franchise to say that to their cornerstone player? Or are the players in the room like now listening to Kucherov and Hedman? I can't imagine Euros really controlling locker rooms like that. But you never know. Or like O'Reilly, and is it O'Reilly there? Who's the other fucker that's
O'Reilly won a
really
cup
good?
there, and so did Maroon won a cup there, and then they both left. And then
Yeah,
Perry was there, and they all gone to different pastures. Yeah.
yeah. Like I don't know. I don't know what his influence in that locker room is, and what that locker room must be like. I think it must be a fairly professional locker room, because the same thing, like we say, they're not bombarded by media and nobody's asking them tough questions. Like, you get tough questions, but like all 30 of those fans are going to see it later on that night. It's no big deal. So I
Because
gotta.
they got like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are ahead of them. Florida State, whatever, the fucking Florida Gate, on and on it goes.
Mm,
Like it's not on the nightly news until third or fourth down the fucking.
well, even yeah, like, so are the Rays the Tampa Bay Rays more
No,
recognizable than them walking around?
no, I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so.
Neither would I. It's a really interesting case study, and I'd like to know some more information of what happens behind closed doors in that Lightning facility, because like I just want to know more things. I would like to talk to his teammates and say, like after some truth serum, maybe a couple on the night, after a couple, like, is he really a good guy? Oh no, he's a great guy. I get it, he's a great guy, but like, does he unite? What does he do? Like, I get, like, what does he do?
I don't know. We'll end this right now, Dave. But what's more likely? Steven Stamkos starting next season with the Tampa Bay Lightning, or Sidney Crosby starting next season with the Pittsburgh Penguins?
Oh, I think it's both high 90s. I think well,
Really?
Sid has one more year left, right? He has a full year, whereas
I think Crosby's leaving. I'm telling you,
where-
Crosby's.
whereas
There's
Stamkos
there is no
Stamkos is a
benefit to
free agent.
Sidney Crosby's career other than just being that guy who's faithful. There's no Crosby has no benefit for staying with Pittsburgh next season. None.
You're right. You are right, but 3 cups is That's a career. And now there's no way Sid Crosby leaves. No way. I think there's a 15% chance that Stamkos leaves. So Stamkos will be playing for someone else before Sid Crosby next year.
We'll have to make sure we timestamp this and mark this one down. Anyways, the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast, 4 Beer Sports Talk, and a whole lot more. This segment was brought to you by SeatGeek.com. The SeatGeek app. Use promo code 1420pod at SeatGeek.com today and save us $20 on your first purchase over there at SeatGeek. I got Stamkos pay cut 4.5 for 3 in Tampa. I got Sidney Crosby getting traded to the Colorado Avalanche in the offseason to play with a guy from his hometown of Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia, next season.
Well, Pittsburgh's going to have to eat a lot of that salary because I don't think Colorado can afford $8.7 million under the cap. What a fucking steal that is! $8.7 million. Fuck.
Team guy, Sidney Crosby.
Team guy, and then
Golden
also, yep, one of the best teammates ever.
It's the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast, 4 Beer Sports Talk, and a whole lot more.
SeatGeek is the ticketing app for fans like Boomstick Lady. No free throw is safe from the roar of her sticks. SeatGeek helps her find a seat in the direct eye line of the shooter so she can sit where her boomsticks make the biggest boom. Everybody okay? SeatGeek handles the tickets to sports, concerts, and more, so fans can fan.